Welcome to the DJ Insider Podcast, sponsored by Amplified Events.
It's the only podcast where we break down insider information from our weddings, experiences, and advice from over 15 years in the wedding industry.
We're your hosts. I'm Mike Kane, owner of Amplified Events.
And I'm Chris Zart, general manager of Amplified Events.
Let's get into it. All right, we're back.
Welcome.
Episode 10.
Nero Diaz.
You can't keep us away from this.
Nope.
Something exciting over the weekend, we saw that we hit 100 listens on Spotify, a few more on the podcast, on Apple Podcasts.
Triple digits, baby.
So thank you. People are listening. Appreciate you guys. I've gotten numerous people out of the works have texted me and said, great job, love it, can't wait to the next one. It means a lot.
I would do this if nobody listened.
Right?
That's doing this for me.
That's the real sign that that people should pay you to do it, is that you would do it for free.
Right.
So we had some weddings. I had one Friday, and then we did one together on Saturday.
Yeah, I did one Friday and Saturday. So busy weekend.
How did your weddings go?
Really good. Yeah, Friday was beautiful. I think you were there a week previous at White Oak in Michigan City, and love being out there. It's just a really gorgeous venue, and the couple is awesome. I mean, honestly, like the whole wedding just kind of, you go in with certain expectations, and sometimes they can be like even better or like worse. But this one, I talked to them and they're like, yeah, like half of our people, not really dancers, the other half like kinda. And we had like a very good dance for like the whole night. And I think a lot of those guys who I did not expect to dance, and they didn't even expect to dance. It was like heavy country, like just a lot of sing-alongs at like the last hour and a half of the night. But it was just a lot of fun. And then Saturday was just like an absolute rager, which was great. And I think that we have this thing now, and we have like a little age difference between us, where like all of the people around me that I went to high school with, friends, are getting married. But for you, it's like people from high school are guests at those weddings. So like, I think we kind of get a mix of that between the weddings. And for you, you had like a bunch of friends from high school at that wedding, just were, able to socialize the whole night. And it was just one of those weddings where you just could not play a bad song. It just was 10 out of 10, like the entire night from start to finish. And doesn't get better than that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, my Friday one was fun. Back at Sandy Pines, beautiful, hot but beautiful.
Yeah.
It really worked out with the rain. It didn't rain until after the ceremony. The ceremony was almost done, so it worked out really well. Not a lot to say there. Just love working with Julie and Carly and their team, and they took good care of us, and it was a good fun dance party all night. Saturday was epic. I mean, just 10 of 10. That's those are rare, and here we are 2 weeks in a row. We've hit some 10s. And,
Yep.
And for us, the 10s, there's lots of things we rate weddings at, reasons we rate them. But we have to have a whole floor all night. We have to have that good give and take, like where you understand what the crowd wants.
Yeah.
Slow, fast, sing along. Like there's just not a bad song. You have to have that. Of course, the couple's got to be cool,
Right.
They were. The tip is always super nice and appreciated.
Oh,
but
yeah.
that to be a 10, it's got to be. I mean, that means you did a good job. They tipped you.
Yeah.
And then 5-star review, and they literally already did that for us. So to me, 10 of 10. Like
I think the only thing that I'd also mention is just like zero technical difficulties.
Yes.
Any problems with equipment. I mean, like anything can happen, especially with like wireless microphones. That's probably our biggest issue that we've ever come across. And that's just something you can't really do. The technology is not perfect yet.
Yeah. We
always try our best, but it's like nothing went wrong that entire day.
Yes.
Nothing with the timeline. We were always like on schedule or ahead of schedule.
Yes.
No problems with our equipment.
The flow of the evening, the photo booth, everything worked and was flawless, and everybody had a great time.
Yeah.
The guests were super cool. We got a few requests, but nobody was a jerk. Nobody was rude. Everybody was really nice.
And a lot of the music was exactly in line with what the group wanted, which is our favorite type of guests.
Yeah.
Nice to us, and they know what the vibe is.
Yes.
It's not like, hey, I know you're playing this music that has everybody out there, but can you do something completely different that will murder the dance floor? Yeah.
Can't play a bad song. It's
No.
just everything works. We did some funk. We did some. I say we. It was you. Like that was the greatest thing, is just to hear like the stuff you were playing. I was like, oh yeah, that's hitting big. Like I don't even have to look. I know.
Yeah.
Like
And when it was a lot of there was a lot of like sing-alongs, a little more than most weddings that I do. That's usually like kind of the end of the night, but they were really into like a lot of like pop punk and just some good like really hype up songs. And it's the best feeling when you like hit play on that song and then "What?" Like they're just like they all like freak out as if they've never heard the song in like 50 years or something. And it's like I've needed water. I've been dehydrated. And it's like they've been in the desert and it's like, yes, I got what I need. That's like
that EpiPen shot they give to when hostage,
Yeah.
when the team goes in and pulls the hostage out, they give them the EpiPen to wake them up, to give them the energy to get out of there and escape the dangerous situation.
Yep.
That's what certain songs can do to crowds.
That's the best feeling. Yeah, it's
going to get you out of this tough situation. You haven't been dancing, and now you're going to be.
Another thing I wanted to mention about this wedding, and something that I kind of want to get into, is just I really loved all of the vendors we worked with that day. We like sitting like at the dinner table, we were just all like joking with each other, just trading wedding stories. There's times where I've sat with vendors and it's like dead silent and like no one wants to talk, and that's fine. Sometimes you just need the moment to decompress. You don't have a lot of time to eat dinner when you're working on, especially for them, they're there earlier than we are. But I always love when I can like socialize with vendors and just kind of like
network and chill and connect and talk about,
That just put me in a good mood instantly. But I think vendors that I can be comfortable around, and then we all have the same common goal in mind of like, we're just trying to have a good wedding day for the couple.
Yes.
And like, we're not trying to work against each other, trying to work together. I know we're different businesses, we're different people. We have, different things we're doing throughout the day.
Yes, different goals a little bit, but the same unified goal.
Yes.
That's the way it should be.
So, no, exactly. It should be that way, but I'm sure there's been plenty of times where you've either had like great experiences, you also had really bad experiences where they've made your job very difficult. So I just kind of want to go through that. Like, do you have any examples of like past weddings where either like good or bad with vendors? Like,
yeah. I mean, to me, I always love to work with a vendor who, clearly is practiced. They know what they're doing, and that means their stress level is low. They're not coming at it like panicked with that type of energy. Because that energy it's infectious. It spreads. If they're coming, I need to, what's the plan? If they're coming out with that kind of thing, that as a DJ stresses me out and it interrupts what I'm trying to do, which is have a nice chill, having a good flow, have a good party.
Yeah.
And you can tell right away that they don't do it all the time. If they're super anxious, if they're, how they carry themselves. Definitely you get those types that think they're an artist, that think that like, I am like the only person able to properly capture this wedding. And I have been called upon by the gods themselves, and you're in my light, you're in my, it's just, they treat it like they're the most important person and no one else matters and no one else's goals matter. And that's frustrating because you really are working as part of a team for this wedding. We've all been hired by the couple for whatever reason the couple chose, but you want to do a good job collectively as a team.
Right. And I think that's kind of the like, you're, being a creative type, for like a photographer, videographer, they're kind of in the mindset of like, obviously I'm working, I need to stick to the timeline, I need to be informed, I need to communicate with the DJ, with other vendors, but they also have this like vision in mind of like, I am like making this film or this like, portrait photos that need to look like great. It's almost like working probably on a film set almost. You have this like scene that's set already and you're kind of working around it, but you also have to like function with other people. And I think that sometimes, when you can do both of those things, that those are the best people to work with. But
it's tough too. I get their perspective because they've had a lot of DJs burn them, where they have those really important shots, the first dances, the speeches, where the DJ doesn't warn them, give them a heads up. So they had no prep time. They were in the other room. They were getting, B-roll or venue shots or whatever, and they miss it. And that's got to be incredibly frustrating on their end.
And that should be common sense for us.
Of course. You work together. Hey, we're going to grab you before anything happens. Make sure you're set. But we also get that where I will give people a notice. Then I'll give them, hey, it's happening now. And then they're like, give me 20 minutes to run to my car and grab 5 lenses and work on, and I got to set up this light that takes 30 minutes to set up. That is incredibly frustrating. As DJ, when I'm just like, what are you doing? Your only job as a professional is to be ready to capture this.
Right.
It's just like if they're like, all right, we want to do first dance. Then I'm like, I don't have the song.
No,
like, and that would be unacceptable, right?
I could sound a little biased, obviously, because I've been a DJ for like a long time now, but I think that it is a little harder on us. We would get so much flack if we left a microphone in the car and we were supposed to start speeches, and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I have to run out to my car and grab my microphone right now.
Just real quick,
you know what I mean?
Quick 20 minutes.
But I mean,
don't have the music.
I understand that mistakes happen. Sometimes you need to, and it's like that's okay. But yeah, there has been plenty of times where like I have to run and do this, and I'm like,
By the way, what we're talking
you know.
about now was not last weekend. It was
Oh,
other,
yeah,
other
yeah.
vendors,
Yeah,
other
this is-
experiences we've had with
yeah.
other vendors.
Yeah, they
who
were fantastic. Yeah, we
No,
had
they
no
were
issues at
amazing.
all.
They were on it. They were so fun to work with too.
Yep.
And we talked about where it's like when people are fun, it just everybody is like excited in a good mood.
Yep.
Colin was his name. He was awesome.
Oh, he's great. Yeah.
And Bethany, as Silcox, she was phenomenal. Photography, like just great team.
And on it, like we didn't have to remind him of anything. That that's sort of thing too. I've had photographers that are just so, and you said this, being burned by DJs, just so nervous, and they come up to me and they're like, "You're not gonna start this without me, right?
Yes.
You're gonna let me know." I'm like, I would never, like, and that's common sense to us. I would never do that. I always am so on top of like, hey, we're about to go into first dance. We're about to go into whatever. Are you ready to go? Give me a thumbs up when you're ready. And I just try and tell them that. Like, I know, like, don't run back and forth. Just give me a thumbs up when you're ready to go. I'll hit play. But yeah, I'm sure that's happened to a lot of people.
I've had video people that I walked up and they were touching our stuff and plugging into the wrong port. You know, again, just ask. It's our stuff, it's our equipment. I would never touch your camera unless I asked. If I knew a lot about cameras and I would ask. I wouldn't touch it.
Yeah.
But I've seen video people do that. They just didn't want to wait. They didn't want to communicate.
That's bad. I haven't had that happen to me. But
Oh, it's happened more than once.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah, people you have to wait on for the timeline, or people who don't tell you, like, I'm taking them for Gold Sunset photos, or I'm taking them for whatever role, you know.
Yeah.
If they tell me, that's fine, and I can plan it out. But if they we're ready to start dances, and they just disappeared with the couple, and then they're gone for an hour and a half, I have to now figure out something. I have to start a dance floor, and then I have to stop that dance floor to do the first dances again, or I have to do, background music for the next hour and a half covering. That's incredibly frustrating.
And all the while, I think it's way easier for people to just point fingers at you, put the blame on you.
Yeah.
And I've had plenty of situations like that where, like this one time, I was ready to go. We were like ahead of schedule. I got all the guests seated. We were ready to do introductions. I had 10 minutes, which is more than enough time. It was a small bridal party. 10 minutes to line everybody up so they could be introduced into the reception hall and get started. And told the photographer this, and they're like, yeah, that's no problem. And then the photographer took them outside for photos. So I went outside, and I'm like, we're about to line them up. And they're like, oh, yeah, we're getting quick photos really quick. I'm like, we have to get started now. Like, the event coordinator was then upset with me, and then I had to explain, this is not me. I'm waiting on somebody else right now. And then everyone's looking at me, you know? And then it kept going. And then they came inside, and they were literally in the bar next to the reception space. And then the photographer was like, oh, we're going to have them all do a shot, or I'm going to get photos of that. I'm like, we have to go now. Like, this is the timeline. Like, dinner is supposed to be served. People are literally waiting for food. And it just kept going, and it was the next thing. We started introductions like 25 minutes late.
Oh, man.
And after that, it was fine, but it was just like, all of this could have happened later.
Yes.
Like, or you should have.
There's a time where you could have taken them out. Like, during dinner, the couple eats first, then you take them then. There's lots of time for that. But then communicate that. Have a plan for that.
And it's rare that
it doesn't
sort
happen.
of situation that rarely happens.
Right.
But the times it does, it
You
really stuck
remember,
with me
'cause it burns you.
Yeah, and when I'm the one that looks responsible for things running late, but it has nothing to do with me, and I've been waiting on somebody else, that just hurts like so much. And that, like, I think we had a great dance floor, but that's honestly the most I remember from that wedding. That was probably like 4 years ago.
Yeah.
But like, yeah,
You get pressures. I mean, you get pressure from the venue, and they think you're not starting because you're not on it and you're not prepared. And meanwhile, it's like this other thing. This other vendor is taking the couple, or things have happened. Or you get pressure from the couple sometimes where it's like, I'm ready to dance. I want to get going. And I'm like, okay, hold on. I got to make sure photo and video are set before we do that. So generally, I'll say that. Let me just make sure photo and video are set. I'll come back and give you the thumbs up. We're ready to go, you know. But I really try to take the pressure off the couple, but I want to work with the vendors so everybody knows what's planned. I give people a heads up. I think we're going to do this, and then we're going to go right into this. So they know, like, stay out there, get the shot you need, set up your lighting, grab your lenses, do your tripod, everything you need, get it in place, because when we're ready to go, we're going.
Yep.
You know, I have literally had people try to interrupt, like, father-daughter dance because they want to switch something out. Just pause the music. What are you talking about? Why would I ever do that? Just ruin a perfectly good moment? You know, like, it's so frustrating. It doesn't happen that often. I remember it because it was such a weird thing.
This stuff sticks with you, yeah.
It's such a weird thing to ask and such an unprofessional thing to stop the flow of the party. The same with, I would never walk in their shot, put my hand over their camera when they're, filming or taking a photo. And we talk about them a lot because we work with them the most, but we also work with a lot of venues, a lot of coordinators, a lot of florists. And honestly, it goes well most of the time. We worked with a phenomenal florist this weekend. At both of our weddings on Friday. It's La Petite Fleuriste, Lori Horst. She's amazing. She worked at both ones. The couple, we had a backdrop for our photo booth, and then they had a light up sign, and they wanted some greenery on it. So Lori and I coordinated. We met up earlier in the week. I gave her the backdrop, and then she set it up for us, made it all beautiful, and then I just tore it down.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
We coordinated with our team
awesome.
because she had 2 weddings that day, and she needed to do both, and so it just gave her more time.
That's
but
cool.
She reached out about it. I reached out about it. We were communicating for a few months about it, and it ended up perfect. And she actually ran that 5K with us too. I saw her.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I saw her getting coffee afterwards. So I was like, hey.
Yeah, I definitely recognize that name. And
So-
I always love too when a florist will put some stuff on our DJ table, right in front of our board, like some flowers or whatever.
Make it look
Makes us
pretty.
look pretty.
Yeah.
Makes me feel cute.
They have put out
It's
the
great.
toss bouquet for us, so we know that's, and they have it labeled toss bouquet.
Oh, that's the best. Yeah, it's just like
Yes.
ready to go. Oh yeah, I have had weddings where scheduled bouquet toss. I check in with the bride, like, hey, do you want to start bouquet toss? Yeah. I hit play. I don't have my bouquet.
I don't know.
It's in the bridal suite.
No.
Like, yeah.
We just announced it. Yeah. I don't have my garter.
And then I'm like, single ladies leave.
Yeah.
You're coming
Hold
back
on.
later.
Ladies got to go. We're going to get everybody else out here. And
It's happened.
it's
happened.
definitely happened.
But yeah, no, that's the best. Also, I think getting to coordinators, day of coordinators.
Yep.
And depending on the venue, it really depends. Sometimes you have a full service coordinator. They are there from the start to the end of the wedding, and they are on top of everything, keeping things organized, making sure that we're, staying on schedule. And then sometimes they have a little more minimalist role where they're just making sure catering is going to work out.
That's right.
Pretty much once we get started with the reception, they're kind of in the background.
Yeah.
So it depends on the venue. The ones that have been the best though is when I ask them oh, we ready to go into this, and then they're boom, ready to go.
Yeah. We've
hey,
lined up the bridal
should
party.
Should I line them up for intros? Yeah, we had the same thought. I've already lined them up. What? One, I do kind of lining them up because it's a way that I can introduce myself to the bridal party if they haven't met me yet. But that is great. I've already talked to the people about speeches or whatever. When they're on top of all that and they make the things that we normally have to do, and it's non-existent, it makes our day so much easier.
Yeah.
And it's just a huge relief.
Something
Huge
I've been
relief.
doing when I meet with my couples prior to the wedding, if they have a planner or they're at a venue where I know there's a planner, I talk to them. I was like, would you prefer I just direct my questions to the planner or to you? Because some couples, they want to be more involved, they have more things, and or they're not utilizing the planner in that specific way. And so they want to be involved. But I love that because that's one unified person that understands all of the moving parts that's really running the show. Walden is like that a lot, where they just tell us, here's what it is, here's what it's not. We're getting lined up. Here's the time. The schedule runs flawlessly. It elevates our job as a DJ because it takes stress off us. It keeps things moving appropriately and perfectly, and it smooths over all the rough edges. And it makes for a much happier day for the couple because they're really stress free. They're not worried about, where's the bouquet? What's the garter? What time are we doing that?
Yep.
It's really worth every penny if you can find a
agree.
person that is going to do that for you. But yeah, a lot of times it's like a friend or a cousin or something, and they don't really do it professionally, and they're just so stressed out.
Which I think energy really rubs off on everybody, and whether that be good or bad. And when someone is stressed like that, especially when you're in a work environment, that stress rubs off on me.
good.
I'm not going to let it affect my work or anything, but I am definitely a little more stressed than I would normally be when I'm okay, so I was worried about the day. Now I'm also having to worry about you.
Yes.
When you should be doing the opposite of that. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, well, and it's a good one, again, will take stress off. A bad one will add stress. Same with DJs.
yeah.
Good one will throw a great party. A bad one will ruin the day. They'll ruin the party.
Yes. Not
So-
ready for any of the events. Yeah. Butchering
Yeah.
the dance floor. Yeah.
You
Absolutely.
had that one, it might have been a few years ago, it might have been last year, where they didn't have any, it was a planner, and they didn't have any power cables, extensions, so they borrowed and then they stole yours.
Oh,
they just
I
took it out of
forgot
your
about
bag.
that.
They took it out of your
Yeah,
bag and
I
didn't
had-
ask, just took it.
We got done
The
with
DJ
Sarah.
probably has what
I
we
totally
need.
forgot about that.
Yeah, and then they kept it. We never got it back.
No, well, and it just, the thing is and it's kind of a time versus money sort of thing. So I had finished ceremony. I get to the reception space. I go to my power bag because I have to hook up the dance floor light, and the cable I would normally use for that is gone. I'm like,
Missing.
oh, that's really weird. And then like 5 seconds later, the coordinator comes up and she's like, hey, just letting you know, I grabbed a cable from your bag because we needed to plug something in for the tent over there. And I was like, well, if you could ask me next time.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, I'm sorry. And I'm like, yeah, I'm just like, I'm like, and if she would have asked, no problem.
You would have
I
figured it
had
out.
like 5 cables that I
would have
wasn't
been
using,
perfect for
that
that,
I did
yeah.
not need just for an emergency. I was like, yeah, go ahead, go ahead and take it, but didn't ask. And then I'm like, I'm gonna need to get that back at the end of the night. The wedding was great.
Sure.
I'm remembering that one now.
Great party,
It was
yeah.
a great party, and then we like finished. And then I'm just wanting to get out of there. I think it was a longer drive. We were probably an hour and a half out. I just wanted to get home, and as soon as like we're halfway through, it clicked in my head. But then it's like, do I want to drive all the way back out there?
No, for
to
one
get
cable, it's
that's
$8 cable,
time
yeah.
versus money. I didn't want to waste my time doing
Definitely
that.
not. But it's incredibly frustrating to have somebody steal from you,
Yes.
not tell you, and then not make a priority to return it.
And like, it was no big deal. Of like, oh, I just used your stuff. Like,
Not a big deal. Yeah, no problem.
that'd be like if I like
Just broke into your car real quick. I needed some
I was
gum.
gonna say that. Yeah, I just went in your car. I wanted to move it somewhere else. Yeah, I needed to move some of my equipment. So
Wanted to get something from the vending machine, went in your purse real quick and grabbed some cash. Hope that's okay.
and that's the thing of like, sometimes I always try to be assertive as much as I can.
Sure.
But sometimes you're so caught off guard that like I was shocked
Yeah.
that she just took my stuff that I was like,
Unprofessional and also probably criminal.
I mean, that would be a funny court case, but
Yeah, I mean, over it, you're not gonna. That's the hard part is you're not gonna make a big deal. But
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
so many better ways of handling that. She could have texted you. I'm sure she had your number. She could have
Yeah.
come found you.
I was just shocked. I was so shocked in that moment. But
Yeah,
whatever. What are you gonna do?
That does happen. That does happen.
Yep.
It's a crazy life we live.
And then, go ahead. Yeah.
No, if you have something,
I was just going to say the other thing of just event coordinators, and this really impacts the day in general. And if you're listening to this and you're planning your wedding, the way that you structure your timeline, the way you have things organized will impact the wedding day severely. Like, if you're making your vendors run around, that can make things so much more difficult and then usually delay things. So a good example of that would be if you're like, okay, I want to be introduced in, and then we're going to sit down, and then everyone's going to eat dinner, and then we have to go into speeches, and then you're just hopping back and forth. So most couples don't think about that, but what happens is vendors are like, okay, now's our time to eat. Let's go and eat. Okay, now we have to get up. We have to go do something for like 15 minutes. And speeches can run on for a long time. And then we're going back and we're scarfing down food again. And then boom, we have to start first dance. And it's just boom, boom. So I always try and talk to couples if I see that something is a little strange in their timeline of like, hey, this is the better way to do it. I'm totally comfortable if you want to do it the way that you already have. But in my experience, this would work the best. And the more you can get done earlier in the night frees you up to just have a good party later in the night. If you can go like introductions right into cake cutting, you don't have to do cake cutting later. Right into speeches. The Lure on the Lake is perfect at this.
Yes.
We always do like intros, cake cutting, speeches, then dinner served. Then when dinner served, nobody has to do anything.
Yeah.
We're just hanging out.
Sit
the
back,
vendors
enjoy
can
the
eat.
show.
The guests don't have to sit through. People don't want to eat during speeches. And then they have food in front of them.
Yeah.
And they don't want to make noise. So then you're just waiting and your food's getting cold. It's just like,
Or it's really loud when people do eat during the speech and
Yes.
they're not listening at all.
or
They're
food's
looking
being
at-
served even
Yes.
worse during
Yeah.
the speeches. I've seen that. So yeah, just like the more you can get done earlier in the night, just frees you up. Then you're at dinner, you can eat, relax. Then the dance floor is open and there's nothing to do.
Yeah.
Other than just relax. So a good coordinator knows how to structure that timeline well.
Yes.
And makes not just my life, but every vendor's life way easier.
And make compromises. Obviously, catering, they've got food hot and ready or cold and ready or whatever, and they want to serve it. DJs, we want to get that served too, but we have to do intros. We have to do speeches. We don't have control over the length of the speech. And I always tell my couples, like, tell them to practice it, keep it short.
I've been trying to do that.
It's not going to go the way you think. I try. A good DJ is a good teacher as well.
Yeah.
Because people have in their mind, and it's, again, sometimes it's not even them. It's the best man, it's the maid of honor, it's the brother, the sister. You love this person. You don't need to do a 45-minute speech about it. And if you have to do that, like maybe do that at the rehearsal dinner or privately or at the next family event or something.
Yeah.
Write a letter to that person. All the things, they would love that. They'd appreciate that. But when you have 200 guests sitting and hungry, they don't want to hear from you for 45 minutes. They want it 2 minutes or less, short and sweet.
Yep.
If not, it's not going to go the way you think. But yeah, I think there's a lot to that, to planning out your timeline. Once you start the party, keep the party going. Don't interrupt the party.
Yeah.
If you interrupt the party, it's going to ruin the party in a way that you can't always recover from. Sometimes you can. But generally, it's like, oh, yeah, well, now everyone's going home.
That's why I'm seeing, I think, less and less of a bouquet and garter. Is because people don't want to break up their dance floor. Because then we like start for 30 minutes and then only the single ladies can come out. And then everybody kind of splits off and they find it, okay, well, now I'm going to go grab a drink or talk to this person or whatever. And not that usually doesn't impact it too bad. But I have seen it before where like sometimes I'm like fighting to get them back. Because like everybody left then. And I'm like, oh, no.
Yeah, they took that opportunity to use the restroom, grab a drink, go outside, have a smoke, talk to a friend, or to like Irish goodbye and go home. You know, I'm out.
This is kind of we've talked about it before. And if you want to do this, this is fine. It's your wedding. But this is dance floor games. That's kind of my thing.
Yeah.
Is at least do it before the dance floor starts, like right at the start.
Yes.
But like,
don't interrupt with the shoe game halfway through the party.
And I've done that.
Or the anniversary dance at the end of the night. It's like most of the married couples, the older ones especially, have already left.
Mm-hmm.
You know, do it earlier and keep it short and sweet.
Yep.
What's some things? We had some fun. I had a fun intro on Friday, and I think you had a fun intro Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of they did a unique kind of like they had this like wrestling belt.
Yes.
It's like really cool.
Yes. Yes.
Where like the maid of honors were like fighting over the
yeah,
rights.
They had two maid of honors, and they wanted to, there can only be one. There can only be one.
Yes.
So they I think they told me they had won this like giant wrestling belt, in like a white elephant gift exchange, like at some Christmas party or something like that. So they had the prop ready to go, and then they sent me a script of like I'm the wrestling announcer, and I had to give it my all, and that was like that was fun to do, and just like just different, I don't. That's not like an average weekend for me that I get to do something like that. So it's always fun when someone has a unique idea like that.
But it got me thinking about intros and like for anyone getting married and anyone who's going to be in a bridal party being introduced. Mm-hmm. What are some introduction do's and don'ts as a DJ that we see all the time? They're like, oh, this is good. We see this go well. And this other way, it doesn't go the way you think. Maybe avoid this. Or if you really want to do that, here's how you do it the best way. Make it the best.
Well, I think, and you've really got me into recommending this to couples, but I really push for just first names only. Yeah. And I've been doing this for like 8 or 9 years now. I am really used to doing those last names. I've had some crazy last names. I type out, and I know you do the same thing, I type out everything phonetically, so I just have pronunciation right. I run through with the couple, hey, do I say this correct? Even if it's like Stuart, I always say it, because they're like, oh, it's actually Stuart. Like, you never know. You never know. I've had a lot of those that are like totally different. There's actually this one time where it was like this Italian name, and I like looked up how to pronounce it, and I got it like really correct, and then I talked to him, and he's like, yeah, that's like the Italian way. I'm going to give you the white guy version to say. But I had it burned into my brain of the correct way. When I did intros, I did it right. Yeah. But I was like, I was ready to go for this. But yeah, I would say first names only. It just keeps the stress off us. It's a lot faster. It's a lot easier. And, when people are cheering and listening, I think that with announcements and stuff, it can be kind of hard to hear what someone's saying anyways. So when you're throwing in those extra like last names and stuff, it can kind of blend together, especially when it's over music. So like just do like Jake and Mallory, whatever. It just goes a lot smoother. And it's rare that I've made a mistake with a name, but it does happen because when you're in the moment and the adrenaline's going and you're reading and you have so many.
There's 12 names in a row and you read one wrong. It happens.
That's one that I would really recommend is just do first names. It makes our lives easier and it's easier to hear for guests.
First names, that's a big one. I'd agree with that. I would also, a lot of people have been doing it where they do introducing the bridesmaids and they just do like Sheila, Jessica, all that. And our maid of honor, Kevin or whatever, you just do them all together. And then all the grooms, and then it's fun because then you can get a unique song for each. And they can do a pose for a photo or whatever. I like that. I like when they just do the bridal party, and the bridal party all comes out in waves.
Yeah.
I think that's really the best way to go. What I've learned is intros, it may be a big fun thing for the bridal party. It's kind of a fun honor that you're in the bridal party. But as a guest and as a DJ, nobody really cares. It's just in my opinion, they're not like, no, what is that third, groomsman from the right? What is that guy's name and last name? And how does he know the groom? And a lot of people aren't that curious about that.
I think, it's kind of a big thing of you're throwing the spotlight on them.
Yeah.
And it's just like
as an honor, that's the whole point. It's the bridal party. We're introducing them as an honor to the couple, but it's just not as interesting as people think, and usually they do the same stuff. They come out, they take a knee, they chug a beer, or they come out and they're like, hey, you're cool, I'm cool, high five, or we do a fun dance or whatever.
I mean, I kind of do like
You
that
like
a little
that?
bit,
Okay.
just because you never know what someone planned to do. I see the same ones like you're saying, like let's just do a shot on the dance floor.
Yeah.
But like I've seen some people do some really wacky stuff, and it's just entertaining for me to
Yeah.
watch. Of like,
Yes.
what are they planning to do?
Yeah.
Another one that I'm gonna say that I'm actually okay with, that I think I think you mentioned this recently, but having individual songs per couple that
Yes.
you're introducing in, it is a lot.
a lot more work for the
because
DJ.
I am on the mic saying names and also mixing, especially if the last names are in there. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Because I'm setting my cue points for all those songs and I'm ready to go. But it is like, I'm kind of sweating, and
Yeah.
it's in a very sweaty, anxious 5 minutes for
Yes.
sure. But it can be fun too.
Yeah.
Like everyone has their own personalized song or dance or thing that they planned. I think if they go in with a lot of energy and they're like, yes, like we're ready to
Yes,
be introduced,
yes.
then it's fun.
Yeah.
I have had people where I line them up and I'm like, are you guys ready to go? And they're like,
Oh man, I'm tired.
and I'm like,
I'm ready to go to bed.
why did you want to do this then? Why did you want to have this like big introduction if you're like not? So yeah, I mean, just give it the same energy that
Yeah, it deserves.
Yeah, it deserves.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and then really make a show of it. Like when last weekend, not this past, but the one before, it was the bridal party. That's why. And I go, guys, I'm not saying your names, so you're the bridal party, but I need you to, because it's so short and sweet. I need you to come in big energy. Just you guys are setting the tone for everyone out there that it's gonna be a party tonight. Do that. And that's
Yeah.
what they did. And they came in big. They came, and then the bride and groom, everybody was cheering, going nuts, But yeah, I do feel like people, do too many songs. They do all the names. And then the worst is when it's like, here is a 5-minute paragraph about every person. Now, I'm going to qualify that because I've seen people do it, and I've seen it recently, where that was important to the couple to do a fun intro. The couple did it themselves. Like, that's kind of cool, actually. And that was part of the fun wedding experience that they got to see and introduce their bridal party.
they were on the mic, right?
Yes.
Oh, I remember you telling me about
So
this
that's
one.
different, but that
Yeah.
took about 45 minutes, 35 minutes to introduce everybody.
That is the
But
way to
that
do
meant a
it,
lot
yeah.
to the couple, and it made it fun, and then it was part of the thing. And they put fun and important stuff in there, and they had all these drops and different cue points and songs and like even voiceover like drops that we edited in. And like that made it really cool because that was part of what made the couple cool and what was important to them. But generally, it's like he's 5'9", soaking wet, 230 pounds.
And no one knows you. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
and
this
they're
stranger talking about them.
they're
Yeah.
trying to do the Bulls thing or the wrestling thing,
Right.
and it's not going to go the way you think. And people are, I mean, after you've given everybody's height and weight and like, he loves Frisbee, it's like,
A little
okay.
monotonous, probably. Yeah.
Well, it's just it's overkill. It's just not needed. It's you can do more with less, and that'll free up more time for the party and more
Yeah.
fun. And does somebody really care what the third groomsman's hobby is? Or how his fourth college roommate? How many roommates does this guy have? It's like you just start thinking that way. As a guest and as a DJ, I'm like, okay, all right, but we have to introduce it that way. That's
Yeah.
what they want, and so we're trying to educate. Like, sometimes let's just call him, Sam or Mike or Dave or whatever, and let's just have him come out and wave and go to a seat.
And I honestly think it's also, I don't know what your weddings have been like this year, but yeah, like for me, it's a lot of people are doing that kind of
They
simple.
really
like,
are cutting it.
Bridal party, or just all the groomsmen, all the bridesmaids, or I just rapid fire first names of all the groomsmen, all the bridesmaids, and
Or the
I
bridal
think
party, yeah.
The big thing is
That saves time for partying.
maybe it's people closer to my age, and it's like an anxiety thing. But I think that it could just be they don't want the spotlight on
Sure.
them. I don't want to walk out as a couple. I don't want all that attention.
Yeah.
So but when you're running out with all your friends all at once,
Yes.
that's a different feeling. So
I do think too, people are trying to avoid. It's kind of the tradition is to go non-traditional. They're trying to avoid things that you would typically see.
yeah,
And so they want to do stuff that's unexpected or quicker or cleaner.
yeah.
And then, again, focus more on, being out there with their dance party or getting those golden hour photos, like things that are really important to them. And that frees up that time to do that because you do have a limited time and each minute counts. And if you're spending 45 minutes on intros, that's 45 minutes you could have spent on something else that was more important,
Save it for the dance floor.
Save it for the
Save it for the reception, just where you can chill and yeah. That's the way to do it.
I love it.
Wedding days go too fast.
Yes.
Way too fast.
That cliche is so true.
Yep.
So you got to
Very.
prioritize what you want, and you got to focus on what you want, and you got to make that the thing. You can't do everything, but you can do a few things and focus on those.
Yeah.
So that's all I got.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, Amplified Events. I am Chris.
I'm Mike. We'll see you on the dance floor.
Woo.
Thanks, guys.